At least three people wanted me to go live. I'm ready to talk some football. What's up, everybody? We got one viewer. That's enough for me. Just been doing tons of junk. Sorry I was late. Didn't put up a post. Wasn't sure if I'd have time to go live. But I got the itch. I got about, I don't know, half hour or so. So let's make it happen. This is Answers with Guests, Week 6, halftime adjustments. We got fantasy football's inside scoop from outside the box. As Rob will tell you 5 times a week. Like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Use those hashtags Answers by Guests and ABGFF. Let's do a quick run through. Packers blow one. Cobb has some value. Surprising to see, but it makes sense. Rodgers wants people he can trust. He's got a little bit of trust in Dubs. He's got some trust in Lazard, as we saw. Cobb, a couple weeks in a row, he's stringing them together. It's an old man. He should be sitting down, but he is clearly their third best option. So if you're dying for a wide receiver, don't overlook him. Probably wouldn't waste a waiver on him because people are going to overlook him. But if you're dying for it, let the waivers clear. You could probably scoop him up. Slayton is another one, much like him. He could sustain some value with Wandale or Wandale and Tony maybe coming back. Not sure if Tony gets out of the doghouse, but the Giants keep getting it done. They don't even need wide receivers. Bellinger's doing his thing, ran one in, killed me. Patriots destroyed as predicted. We called that on our big show. Had a feeling, knew it would happen. Goff on the road, didn't know it'd be a shutout, but man, I'm not going crazy with Myers. Had a couple questions about Myers. He had a big game earlier in the season. It's a little bit of a carousel there. We'll see how that goes. And Henry, as we said, has some value if Jonnu is out some more. Craig Reynolds outscored Jamal as we predicted. Predicted it 2 weeks in a row. It happened this week. Swift will be back after the bye, so don't go crazy with Craig Reynolds anymore. Warren is of concern to Harris owners. If you're a Harris owner, I'm hoping you read what Tomlin said. They're going to keep giving Warren the ball. If he's out there, everybody's going to be going after, Benjamin. Everybody, if he's available, going to be going after Kenneth Walker. Warren, if he's still out there, him along with Rachaad White, who we'll talk about and we've been talking about for weeks. I mean, those two guys are just, they're trending in the right direction. Pickens is the new number one. And as I told you on Saturday night, Calvin Austin, I believe he's a third, starting his career with that third on the jersey, so I give him respect for that. Claypool did show up, but this is a guy you need to know in your leagues. You don't need to pick him up. You don't need to use a waiver. Most people don't even know who he is. You will once he gets going. Cook gets burned. James Cook. Davis is back. He only had 3 catches, though. But a huge game. The 98-yarder everybody saw. Cook getting burned. Could have been a game flow type thing. He ran the one in. Other than that, didn't have much. But, sooner or later, maybe not if they get CMC. I don't think they would trade Cook to the Panthers. They'd probably trade Moss if they traded anybody and something else. But we'll see if that happens and the Bills get Christian McCaffrey. Mostert, as predicted, is the best one. He's the man until he gets hurt. Edmonds, that stinks. So many people are so high on Edmonds. He's a second back. That's what he is. It's like a lot of guys are backup quarterbacks. He's a backup running back. Throw everyone else out. Excuse me. Everybody on Miami. I mean, the pass catchers, all that. I mean, what could they do? Same thing with the Jets. I mean, I'm not worried about their trio. The game was close until the end, but they pretty much didn't need to throw, and I'm glad that I didn't like Conklin. Atlanta was robbed. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. The flag that shouldn't have been. Rachaad White gaining steam, as I said. And I had mentioned before the show, Cade Otton is going to be their number one. Cameron Brate is just Cameron Brate. He's just a thorn in the side. I doubt anybody even owns him. If you do, you should be picking up Cade Otton. They're on a bye. I think later in the year, I want to say. Not sure. I don't think it's this week. Rob knows the buys. I have to look. My craziness, I had mentioned on the Saturday night show, starting Taysom Hill paid off. I said I gotta do it, because even if he gets me 7 points, that's a win. He got me a lot more than that. But I don't expect that each week. And if you're going out spending a ton of fab money on Taysom Hill, I mean, could he give you double digits every week? Yeah, sure. But he's not touching the ball a ton. Just so happens every time he touches, he just runs everybody over. Kamara, I thought he would play in the London game, and I thought that would be a smash and he'd do amazing. We all know that he was inactive, but he did exactly what I thought he would do, because Winston is the problem. If Winston is not playing, a quarterback that checks down Andy Dalton, Kamara will be Kamara. So when Winston comes back, might be a time to look at getting rid of Kamara. If and when he comes back. I mean, dude's got a broken back. And poor Penny. Everybody knows how much I love Rashad Penny. You know what that means. You got to get the rookie. It's his time. Dameon Pierce, every week starter. I was benching him last week. That's my one miss from the show. Last week was Dameon Pierce. I did not think Houston would be in this game. Kudos to them. I'm a closet Houston fan. I've talked about it over the years. He's an RB1. You start him. And Collins is stringing games together. ETN came through as predicted. I'm not buying Marvin Jones long term. Tanny does just enough to keep his job. Everybody wants Millis, but they keep winning. The guesstimator evaporated, but he was a week 7 stash. Whoa. Diami Brown. Loved this dude last year. Never really got burned. Finally shows life. Gibson surprisingly still productive, but B-Rob only played 20 snaps or less, so we'll see. Fields keeps throwing more, just as we discussed. I think it's going to continue Thursday night. Cook finally showed up as predicted. Somebody had asked on a Saturday night show, will Devin Cook ever do anything again? I said, yeah, he'll do it this week. And Thielen stunk. I had a feeling he wasn't going to have a good game. Are you happy now, Eckler owners? You were whining and complaining. Now he's RB1. He's the top running back in football at this point. Fantasy and league-wide. Palmer and Carter, they kill each other, and it stinks. Carter needs to go away. And Cooper shows up again as predicted. And Njoku stays hot. Kittle's about to blow up. It's probably coming this week. We'll see when we do the Sunday morning show. No London games, so the games that we go over will be recorded and posted on Saturday, and we will just do questions Sunday morning. So no more big show this week. We got a couple weeks where we don't have to sit through that, so that's good for you. Jeff Wilson staying strong. Juwan Jennings keeps flashing. PJ Walker, we'll see how this goes. I'm not loving it. Could help, but man, as bad as Baker's looked, his wide receivers are not helping. The play calling's not helping. Now he's hurt as PJ Walker. And in all honesty, I hope he stinks so that Jacob Eason can get some burn, because I'm a big Jacob Eason fan. Hello there, Mr. Pollard. You finally showed up. And they're in parentheses because there's nothing to say about this team. It's 2 players. Nothing to say. Goddard wasn't the top tight end, so I guess that was a bad call, but he had a good game. Obviously worth a grab. Everybody should have grabbed him sooner, including me specifically, because I looked at him. Chase was the top wide receiver for Cincy, as I thought, but it wasn't that good. He gets double and triple team. Duvernay looked good. Jacobs keeps killing it. The Casey carousel continues. We got a couple comments. We're just going to get into those. Probably a quick show. I answer most of the questions on the page, so we don't have any questions from the group. So we're speeding right into it. Got this weirdo here, Rob Torres. He wants to say hi. Good luck with your waivers. Rob, I hope you don't have good luck, but I hope you do. I hope I have better luck than you, but that's okay. But thanks for joining the show. Jeremy's 1-4. He's grabbing Walker. But ABG with Penny out and Henry on a bye needs a running back. I'll have to look at it. You're probably not going to get Benjamin. You're going to have to be at least in the top 5 in the waivers. I don't know. I'll look at it. Maybe I'll mention something in our group chat, Jeremy. But I don't know. I think anybody that's really worth a damn is going to get scooped tonight. And you got to play Taysom this week. Listen, you roll the dice. That's what I did last week. That's what I've done with 5 weeks. I think 4 out of the 5 I played Taysom Hill. 3 out of the 5 because I played Komet the first week, and then there was 1 week Taysom Hill didn't play. So 3 out of the 5 I played Taysom Hill, and I've gotten pretty good tight end production. So it is what it is. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm not expecting even more than 10 points a week. But if he gives me 8, I'm happy because it's a tight end spot. Thoughts on the trade? He's sending London and Brian Robinson for Deontay. If you're good at running back, I don't hate that. Problem is, as I mentioned a few moments ago in the rundown, he's their number 2 now. Deontay, he's not their number 1 anymore. Pickett coming in has made Pickens, and I think that continues. He's just younger, obviously more durable at this stage of his life, probably more athletic, hasn't shown to have drops like Deontay's had. I get your want to get rid of London because Atlanta doesn't really run the ball. But in all honesty, London's their wide receiver 1. They finally activated Bryan Edwards last week, but he really did nothing. 1 catch, I think, for 10 yards. I don't get it. They don't throw the ball much. They're relying on their defense, which is surprisingly stingy. For a couple weeks now, I thought they were one of the 4 worst, but playing pretty well. I feel like you could do better than Deontay, honestly, because Brian Robinson has so much hype at this point. His game last week, you're looking at his points scored, but he was capped at 20 snaps. I don't even know if he got to 20. I honestly would prefer something a little better. Like, you might be able to get Michael Pittman. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Michael Pittman, but he's their bona fide number 1. He's coming back from an injury, had a big weeks before it. Pierce has been showing up, and now people are going to have to account for Pierce, and it's going to open up some things for Pittman. And I just feel like Deontay, I love Deontay, always have. He's one of my original guys. I believe I called him the next Antonio Brown his rookie year. He's never quite got to that. He's pretty damn amazing, though. But I just think that London is just slightly under Deontay at this point right now because of Kenny Pickett loving Pickens. And I think Robinson puts it way in the other guy's favor. I'd look for something. And if Pittman's not your cup of tea, I get it. Because Matt Ryan, the statue. But they're going to have to start throwing the ball too. Jonathan Taylor's going to come back. He's going to help them move the ball. Then you go for something a little more than Pittman. But I think you could do better. I think at this point, Deontay is a number 2 at best. And London is a 2-3. And you're giving away one of the most hyped running backs for football reasons or non-football reasons at this point in the season. I think you could do better. I would try to do better. Yeah, I was going to say Joshua Kelly, but the problem is that Sony Michel's there, and Sony Michel's getting burned. He's splitting with him. You need Eckler to go down. If that happens this week, and you have Kelly, okay, sure, but then what happens if they throw Spiller in there? You are down to dire straits. You said so yourself. You need anybody to get you 5. Joshua Kelly is fine. There was one person I was going to mention. Sure, go for him because that might be the best you can get. You should be able to get a wide receiver one, I'd imagine, at least a high end two. You got to look for somebody that needs a running back. Is this an ABG league? There's plenty of people that need running backs. I believe Michael, who's got a question right below it, he was just saying in the chat he needs a running back. I mean, I'm down to like my 3 or 4 running backs after losing Javante. But I doubt it is because you need a running back. So I'm not sure what league it is, but shoot for the stars. It should be what we do. Think no matter what you're trading with anything, go as high or higher than you think you can. Worst thing you're going to say is no. Somebody's going to say no, and then you go to somebody else or you take a step down. I'm just going to go to him real quick and skip over Michael. He said he's trying to trade his brother Taylor and Pittman for Kupp. Yeah, I saw that you had mentioned that somewhere. I mean, what you're getting is consistency. But I do think Taylor's going to bounce back. We're in week 6. I mean, he hasn't even played one of them. Last year, he didn't really pick up until right about this point, if not a few weeks later. And then we saw how the rest of that season went. I feel like you're selling Taylor a little too cheap. And the same thing with Pittman. And that goes in line with what Michael asked. He's saying, is Alec Pierce becoming the number one? I don't think so. I think that Pittman is the number one, but I think Pierce is very close. I think it's 2 different types. Pierce is a monster. He's huge, much bigger than I thought. Moves really well. He's like a giant Edelman, the way he goes after balls. I think that what he's becoming is he's becoming a viable wide receiver 3 at minimum for fantasy purposes. You could slot him in at 2 if this continues, whereas I think Pittman is a 1 and at worst a 2. I think Pittman is their number 1. But you've had Pittman being covered coming back from his injury that has allowed Pierce to show his value. It's clear, though, I think both of them, and especially Pierce, because that's who you ask about, is obviously somebody that you should want to own in fantasy, without a doubt. Yeah, he should be in most leagues. Walker should have been drafted. I've always been a DJ Dallas fan. I'm not even a big college football fan, but I liked him with Miami. For whatever reason, it might have been his name, DJ Dallas. Just cool. Homer doesn't have the coolness effect to it, unless you like donuts and beer. Dad joke. I like DJ Dallas. He's resorted a little to special teams. He's probably going to be their RB2. But you think about what Penny's been doing versus what Walker's been doing. And now you're going to say, okay, well, let's put Walker where Penny is, and let's put DJ Dallas or Homer where Walker was. And I don't know if it's worth, going too crazy over it. Could you roster him? Sure. In a few weeks, you might cut him. This team is ridiculous to me because I can't believe Geno Smith's doing what he's doing. I thought for sure after that, first half he had in the first game of the season, looked really good, and then stunk in the second half. I thought that was him, but he keeps getting it done. And I don't know if like last week, it was the Saints defense was just, maybe they're just not good anymore. I don't know. But I like DJ over Homer. But Homer's always been that type of player that, even when people were rostering and in love with Chris Carson, which I never was, Travis Homer would come in the game and steal stuff from him. So I think it's a coin flip. I think it's right in line with Joshua Kelly, Sony Michel territory. But we're getting to the point where Slim Pickens is sort of what you need to go after, and you need to just pick up, if you're in need of running backs, you got to scoop people with a pulse. And they have a pulse. Because if nothing else, you hope for, all right, it's a running back. Maybe they don't give them everything like they gave Penny. Maybe they split it 2 or 3 ways, and then you got a shot. I think that Moore will actually be more valuable when D Hop returns. I think Moore coming back killed Dortch. Dortch is done. And I kind of predicted that and said that, you know, we had said Dortch is a thing, and then one of our big shows, not last week, I think the week before, I was like, I kind of get a feeling he's going to die off. Who knows? Maybe he'll pop again here or there. But when D Hop returns, I think it'll actually help Rondale Moore. Um, because, again, it's the same sort of thing of what Pierce did for Pittman and Pittman did for Pierce. People are going to have to guard Hopkins. It's going to help more. The problem with this team is, their line is not very good. The play calling seems a little bit ridiculous at times. If Eno Benjamin does better than James Conner has been doing, I think that things will start trending in the right direction. And I mentioned it in our big show on Saturday night. When they get D-Hop back, this team, I think, will begin to accelerate in a positive manner. So if you're a Rondale Moore owner or you're talking about grabbing him, I think it's smart. And I think if he duds, this week he's not going to dud. They're going against Seattle. But if he happens to, I wouldn't drop him. I'd wait. Week 7, Hopkins back. That's when you're going to want to have Rondale Moore, I think. This week, it could just be Kyler and Eno just running like crazy all over this team. No other questions. All right, 23 minutes. Said I had about 20, 30 minutes. We got a game Thursday night. The Bears hosting the Redskins. If I had asked, a casual fan or anybody, hey, I got the Redskins, I said, the Commanders and the Bears, just based on surface, who's got the better record? People might say the Commanders, but it's crazy. The Bears are 2-3. Commanders 1-4. Wentz on the road, primetime game, decent defense. This game has a 38 over under. That's like dirt cheap. The Bears are starting to throw more, and it's a lot easier to throw on the Redskins than it is to run on them. Monty is Monty. If you've got to play him, you could play him this week. It stinks, but Herbert is now Madison, as I mentioned on Saturday. You own Herbert for when Monty is out. When Monty's there, Herbert is almost worthless. So Monty's fine. I think Mooney is a fine play in this. I think Kmet continues to gain some steam. With bye weeks and with injuries, I could totally see a reason to play all 3 of those guys, Montgomery, Mooney, Kmet. Without a doubt, especially Mooney and Monty. Kmet, if that's who you're rolling with a tight end, it's who you're rolling with. But I could see them looking to throw the ball a little more in this one because that's just the way they've been trending. I had mentioned it Saturday night before the games that I saw that sort of happening, and they threw some more this week as well. I think he's up to a earth-shattering 21 attempts, I want to say. I'll double-check that. But I think that there is value in those 3 players this week at home. I think that the defense does enough to make some mistakes for Carson Wentz because Wentz on the road is going to be a hostile environment. I just want to check this real quick. Yeah, 21 attempts. He was 15 for 21. So, like a very solid game, over 200 passing yards with a touchdown. He also ran 8 for 47. So, the running, they actually threw almost as many times as they ran. 24 rush attempts, 21 passes. So they're getting more balanced. So I think that the Bears, if people dumped Mooney, if people dumped Komet, and you have an empty spot because you had to drop somebody, you threw somebody in the IR, I think that those are two decent scoops, maybe not to even play, but to just have, because I do think that it's trending upward. I think that the Bears offense that we thought we would be seeing, I think maybe around like week 10 or so, we're starting to see them pass much more than they run. But we'll see, because the weather gets colder and teams like to run more. So I could be wrong. But if somebody dumped Mooney, I'd be scooping him. And if I desperately needed a tight end, if somebody dumped Komet, I'd be scooping him. And as far as the Commanders go, we'll see if Dyami Brown does it again. Dotson, I don't think he's going to play this week. I don't believe he practiced today. McLaurin is McLaurin. Samuel is Samuel. And I think that on a short week, they still don't overuse Brian Robinson. I think that if you're a Brian Robinson owner and you're waiting for, the new buzz term is season, B-Rob season. Everybody, it's always this person's season. That's the new thing to say. If you're waiting for B-Rob season, I think that week 7 is going to be your best shot. I mean, could he bust one in this? Yeah, but I think that they still keep him under 30 snaps. So more than last week, but on a short week, I don't think they overdo it. So Gibson still has a little value, but I wouldn't use him at all. I do think the Bears win this one. I think the Bears have been playing games tough. I think it goes over the total. I'm going to say 24. I'm going to go weird. 24-19 Chicago. Marty says, I know you want to talk about the Packers. Not really. My Packers, my Dodgers, they do the same thing. I'm a Syracuse fan. Syracuse Orange basketball team. They do the same things. They get leads. They play really well. Then they just, we'll just relax. How do you go 4 for 4 in the first half against the Giants? Four drives, 4 scores, and then never score again until that stupid safety at the end. It just, you took your foot off the pedal, and what you did is you just chucked the ball downfield, bomb after bomb. Why? Run the ball. You got 2 ridiculously good running backs. You got a 10-point lead. Just the coaching was terrible. The play calling, some of Rodgers' things, the drops. The last play with Lazard there at the end. But you have Lazard, you have Dillon. You need to run more, I think, to get the pass game going. Yeah. Sorry, I just read your question. Exactly. I mean, they should have been running more in the second half. I feel like they were just chucking deep balls, and it was ridiculous to watch, and I could not figure it out. Next thing I know, they're losing. They're tied, and then they're losing. Bears should have won. There's a lot of stupid stuff that's going on. I guess Tom Brady was right. There's a lot of bad football going on. I can't get out. I mean, yes, you're 100% correct, but I can't get out of my head the play from last night where the dude sacked him, landed on him, and then they called the penalty, roughing the passer. Are you kidding? He had the ball. He was a runner at that point, technically. And the Brady one was ridiculous. I'd probably hold on to him because he has value. I'm not a McKissick fan. But listen, Jacobs is on a bye. He's killing it. He's on a bye, and he's got injury history. Carter's the number 2 there now. The one thing Carter is getting is goal line. I think Rob mentioned that Saturday night that would continue, and it did. So that was a great call by Rob. We're waiting for Taylor to get it going, and Stevenson's a smash now that Harris is out. But I would hold on to McKissick, man. There's no reason to be dropping him unless you're picking up an absolute stud. remember, the golden rule is, can I drop this guy? Sure. Who are you picking up? McKissick has value as a pass catcher. Yes, it's 3 running backs there, but he still has value. Pretty soon, Gibson's going to be the one that doesn't play much if things go as it seems they're going to go. McKissick's still going to be involved. So I would not just drop him unless I'm picking up a running back of his same value, because he has value at this point. We can't just drop guys. You know that, Jeremy. We have to have somebody that we're picking up for him. You drop Brandon Cooks, Garrett Wilson, Michael Thomas for Alec Pierce. Chris, I think that we were having a conversation about your lineup and a couple moves you were going to make. And you had wanted to drop Cooks and you had wanted to drop Wilson. And I had brought up, was it you? I think it was you. It might have been Rudy if it wasn't you. But he had all 3 of these guys. I'm not rostering Michael Thomas anymore. I'm not. I mean, he's like a little baby to me, to put it nicely. He very well could have played last week. It just seems so clear that he's just not playing unless Jameis Winston's playing. If he plays this week, then I'm wrong. Maybe he comes back this week, but he was out of the league basically 2 years, not out of the league, but didn't play. And it's just like, it is injury after injury after injury with him. Brandon Cooks has had 2 down weeks. He's still their top guy. He'll get it going. They have a bye. They'll fix it. He's going to have a few huge blow-up weeks. He's a PPR guy. Garrett Wilson, again, a couple down weeks, but his upside is just tremendous. He is the best wide receiver they have over the past couple weeks. Moore and obviously Corey Davis have been outdoing him. I don't think that'll continue. I think Garrett Wilson stormed onto the scene. Defense is adjusted. They'll adjust as well to continue to get him the ball and get him open. Michael Thomas, I would drop him for Alec Pierce yesterday if I could have. Yes, I would. Michael Thomas is who I don't want. And you know what? He could have a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game, and it won't change a single thing to me. Now, I get it. Olave could be out with a concussion. Landry was out last week, relatively surprisingly. And Callaway's really nothing. But Kamara's killing it as long as Dalton's the quarterback. Now, Taysom Hill, they even came out today and said they want to continue to keep him involved and get him more involved. And they got 3 tight ends because Troutman's been doing some things and Juwan Johnson's been doing some things. So the Michael Thomas thing to me, I just feel like he's past it. And it was 3 years ago, I think, when I was on the air. We were on the air, Answers by Guess. And it was after our main league, not the Answers by Guess league, Rob and my main league. And I had picked Davante Adams before Michael Thomas. And at that time, Davante Adams wasn't the Davante Adams that people have thought of him the past few years. Because I said, I just have a feeling Michael Thomas is just trending down. And since then, it's been injury. It's been, he's throwing fits about who his quarterback is. He didn't want to play with Drew Brees because of comments he made, which, right, wrong, or indifferent. This is a business. This is your job. You got people relying on you, not fantasy, but, fans. And he just doesn't seem interested in playing. And I don't want a guy like that. So I would drop him for Pierce. Long story short. Don't like Wilson's QB, and you're not liking Cook's production. Yeah. But I think Zach Wilson's fine. He's shaking off the rust. They didn't really need to throw last week. Listen, Teddy Bridgewater is worthless to me. I talked about it on Saturday night. I had to use him at quarterback because I couldn't stomach using anybody else because I felt like he could throw on the Jets. He gets taken out the very first play. The Jets could just run the ball the whole game. It was 3rd-string quarterback, rookie, I believe, 2nd year at most. So they didn't need the wide receivers last week. So you can't look at that. In the past 2 weeks, Cook's production's been down. They're going to bye week this week. They'll fix it. He's still their best wide receiver, even though Nico Collins is putting together a couple games. Guesstimator, we'll talk about that in the recorded shows, so you have to watch those on Saturday. But Otten is an ad, but they are on a bye, right? Am I correct? Tampa Bay's on a bye this week. Can somebody point me in the right direction? Because why do I feel like they're on a bye? They're not on a bye. I would pick up Otten, but I like them both. And I know you're a Giants fan. Why do I feel like Tampa Bay's on a bye? They're later in the season, right? 13? I gotta look at this now. 11. I like Otten. He's their tight end one, even when Brady comes back. And I said that Saturday night, and he proved it. Brady looked for him. I mean, with all the weapons they have, he still looks for the tight end. I mean, just think about it. When Gronk was there, and Gronk was actually Gronk for a season, even last year when he was healthy, regardless of having Evans and Brown and Godwin, he was always looking for a tight end. He loves his tight ends. Otten is that dude. I think that I would pick him up first. Bellinger is definitely worth a grab if you miss out. That's not terrible at all because you're getting two starters for one. Love Pierce. Pierce isn't playing this week. And then you have 5 ridiculous running backs. The problem then is going to come with who do I play? You're going to make some wrong decisions along the way, or at least feel like you do. But I would make that trade. And if your wide receivers look really good, then down the line you could probably move one of those, or don't look really good, you can move one of those for a wide receiver. But I would do that. You're getting 2 for 1. You're getting bye weeks if you have a flex. 2 of those guys, I don't know the buys by heart. I'm sorry, I haven't studied them, but 2 of them are out. Well, now you got your 2 running backs, and 5 is always better than 4. You are taking though a bona fide starter who I mentioned earlier in the show in the recap. Dameon Pierce is a every week starter. Will Walker be able to do what Penny did? But he has to do more because Penny actually had one really good week. The other weeks weren't too crazy, productive, but not too crazy. And Robinson, everybody's in love with Robinson, but he hasn't done anything yet. And he is going to share with at least McKissic. So while you're gaining depth, and I like to gain depth, have 5 running backs is better than 4. Pierce might outscore both of them. So this is purely for depth. And hopefully the guy that you're trading Pierce to, you've already played him. And then you don't have to play him again. So then you don't have to worry about it. That's one of my secrets when I like to trade. I like to trade to teams that have already played. Because then I don't have to worry about it if the guy blows up against me. Darius Slayton, a must-add. I don't know if he is. I like Slayton, but Slayton, we got to go back to what, 2018? 19 at most. I think it was 18. I mean, he's always had flashes. So he flashed. He beat the Green Bay defense. They didn't account for him. But where's that been all year? And you have Wandale, no matter how you want to pronounce it, and maybe Tony coming back. He's not going to be the only one. I don't think he's a must-add. I think he's a can-add. You can add him if you need it. Sutton, Davis, McLaurin, Gallup, Lockett. So Gabe Davis, I'm going to guess. Sutton, Gabe Davis, McLaurin, Gallup, Lockett. That's not bad. You got good teams. So now I can see why you're 5-0. Very good. Well, of course he's the new number one. We've been talking about that all show. Everybody knows that. Haven't played Pierce all season with my current RBs. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And you won't, listen, you won't play. I mean, go back to this. So, I mean, we don't have many people watching, but in case they are, I mean, go back to this. You won't play Walker or Robinson either with your current. So, it makes no difference. All you're doing is filling in case you're taking depth, in case of injury, in case of buys. And I don't know all the buys by heart. That's what you're doing. And depth at running back is what you need because the season is not even a third of the way over. The regular season is, but we don't play for the regular season. We're playing for the playoffs. Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's true. But like he said, he hasn't played Pierce all season. But I get you. There's a little bit of juju having Pierce on the team. But sometimes, Jeremy, sometimes that's the wrong approach. Now, I agree with you wholeheartedly for the majority of things in life. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Right? Just keep it going. I mean, I complain about it all the time at my job. I'm like, oh, the place I work, I say their motto is if it's not broke, fix it. Because it seems like things working fine. We're going to change this. Well, why? But in fantasy, you want to be a step ahead. I mean, that's what we are. We're always a step ahead. You can't rely on it always going fine. So again, as I said, Alan, the only reason I'd make this trade, I think Pierce is by far the better option than both of them going forward. Unless Walker somehow does much better than what Penny's done. Penny had one really, really good week, couple good spots and games throughout, but one really, really good week. And unless Robinson absolutely kills it, which Washington as a team hasn't been able to do, I think Pierce is the best player. But the reason I'm looking ahead and being a step ahead here, in case Eckler goes down, in case Chubb goes down, in case Barkley goes down, right? That's the three you had. Yeah. Well, in case two of them go down, well, now I have two other guys instead of just one other guy, and it's building depth. That's it. Thoughts on Rondale? Michael had asked about Rondale. I think Rondale is a fine guy to have on your team in case. I think that this week should be a really good game because Seattle's defense is terrible. And I think that once DeAndre Hopkins comes back, he'll be more valuable than he is now. I mean, next season. Well, yeah. Walker is probably going to be their number one next year, unfortunately, because Penny is, I believe they kept extending him 1 year. This was his final one, his rookie contract from 2018. They bought another year. So this is fifth year. So I think after this, they're just going to probably end up letting him go. And it's sad because he finally got healthy, he finally showed what he could do. And unfortunately, this is the way his career has been, pardon the pun, breaking. Is there a wide receiver one you'd want for Pierce? You also have Rachaad White. Yeah, I like Rachaad White. He's trending in the right direction. I think the thing with Pierce is he's going to buy this week, so it's a tough sell. They had a big game last week. So if people don't need him this week, but they need him for future buys, I think you have to target a team that has a lot of wide receiver depth. Um, you're not going to get the world for him. You're not getting JJ. You're not getting Cup. I would try for maybe like a Mike Evans. I think that would be pretty good place to start, somewhere around that type of caliber. I mean, the one thing you have to deal with Mike Evans, we've talked about this for seasons, is some weeks it's going to be him, some weeks it's going to be Godwin, and you just have to deal with it. But he's somewhere I would start. I definitely wouldn't do anything less than a Mike Evans. What's up, Leon? You guys have 4 running back limit, 2 starters, 2 bench. Kurt RBs are Montgomery, Harris, talking Najee, Wilson, and B-Rob. You're obviously expecting good things from Robinson second half. Would you drop any for Walker? Oh, gosh. That's the problem, Leon. I got to fix my chair. That's the problem with this. I don't like leagues like this where you have limits. I would drop 3 of them, honestly. The only one I probably wouldn't drop is the one that actually is trending in the worst direction. That's Najee Harris. But I don't want to really drop any of them. I don't want to drop Montgomery because when he's healthy, we've seen what he can do. And we know they still want to run the ball. I think that the passing game, as I talked about earlier and on Saturday, they're continuing to throw more and more, but Monty can catch passes. You can't drop him, though, regardless, whether you like him or you don't. You can't drop him. Harris, Najee, I really want to drop your first rounder? You can't do that. Doesn't matter that Jaylen Warren is stealing snaps, and the coach came out today and said he's going to continue to get more and more. But you can't drop him. Jeff Wilson, he's been killing it. However, Elijah Mitchell's coming back, I think week 9 maybe. And Ty Davis Price is coming back pretty soon. I think they gave Tevin Coleman some burn last week. And B-Rob's done nothing. It's. I get that the running back hype. I like it. The rookie running back hype. I get it. And this has been exaggerated by the shooting, the scumbag that tried to rob him. So now everybody loves Brian Robinson, and rightly so. But he's done nothing. So, like Montgomery, because of his injury history, but he's still so involved. Wilson, because his injury history, and there's tons of other running backs there. The 2 guys who technically could be getting more burn than him will be back soon. And Brian Robinson has done nothing. You know for a fact Kenneth Walker is not losing this job for the rest of the season. I honestly would probably consider Wilson or Robinson as a drop for Walker. Where are you on the waiver order? Because you know he's going number 1. Unless somebody has, Allen's running backs, Barkley, Eckler, Chubb, and Pierce, and they're number 1. They're not dropping them. But I would consider Wilson or B-Rob, and honestly, probably be B-Rob for me at this point. He's a stud, but he's got 2 other running backs there. And if you want to hold on to B-Rob and see what he's got, it has to be Wilson. He's been doing great. He's looked really good. But he's got so many running backs there, and he's got running backs coming back in as early as 3 weeks. I definitely want Kenneth Walker. Nobody's taking his job from him unless he fumbles it out of it and absolutely just stinks, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah, you got to have the depth for later in the season. That's the only reason I'd make that trade. Starting too early for a start sit, Allen. I got to look up all these matchups. I know McLaurin's playing, and I'm going to tell you right now, Gabe Davis last week, he only had the 3 catches, but the 2 touchdowns, the huge ones. Going against the Browns, you can pass on the Browns. Sutton, I mean, who is their quarterback going to even be? Is Russell playing this week? They're going against the Raiders. I like Gallup coming back, going against the Vikings. And who's Seattle playing? Anybody know? I can't find them. Does anybody know who Seattle's playing? I probably going to stay away from the Thursday game, Alan. I'll probably go with Sutton and Davis at this point, just because I have no clue who Seattle's playing. I can't find them. I'm blind. Oh, I already know who they're playing. I didn't even have to look. Arizona. I knew that. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sutton and Davis. Unless Russell Wilson, if he's not playing, I don't know if that helps or hurts. Yeah, Arizona. I knew it. I've said it like 4 times in the show, talking about Eno Benjamin going against Seattle. I'd go Sutton, Gabe Davis. If I had to, I'd probably swap out Sutton, depending on who the quarterback is, for Lockett. Did you, though? I mean, come on. 98-yard touchdown. I mean, that happens, what, once every few years? And his other one as well. He had 3 catches for like 170-something yards and 2 touchdowns. It's a mistake, but you know what? If you got 15 points or so, half point, 10 to 15, you're fine. I mean, it was a mistake, but you should have been fine. And obviously, you said you're 5-0, so it's like, no, it doesn't matter. You can't kick yourself after that. I would definitely play him again this week because the Browns are moving the ball, and I think it's a good place to play him. Tony worth holding on to, thinking Cobb or Pickens. I would get Pickens. Goodbye, Tony. I wouldn't have been even holding him this long, John. He hasn't been playing. They don't like him. He probably could play this week. I think Wandale might come back before him because he was called out inactive a day before. But you got to pick up Pickens. And then if you miss on Pickens, I'd take a shot on Cobb. He's an old man. He should sit down, but Rodgers trusts him, and he keeps feeding him. And until Tony plays, there's no reason to have him. Coaches don't like him. They're looking for a reason to keep him out. Pickens, you have to immediately tonight. Number 2 pick, Jimmy Wonders. They all laughed when I took. Yeah, well, nobody should laugh. Trendy things occur, and you have to zig when other people zag. And if you've been paying attention to anything that I do or say or Rob does or says, I mean, sometimes it's going to blow up in your face. But if you've been paying attention for the past 6 seasons or even 2 seasons or 3 seasons, you're never going to win doing what the masses do. I mean, it's like sports gambling. Like if you are dead set and you're like, oh, I'm going to put $100 on this team, go ahead and look and see what the public's betting. You can look up Vegas betting percentages, public percentages. If 75% of the bets are on that team, you're probably not winning. It's a sucker bet. So it's like everybody, the trend this year was 0 RB, right? Or hero RB, whatever they wanted to say. And, look at you. You zigged when they zagged. And it could have blown up in your face, but it didn't. And that's risks. That's why they call it a risk. Yep. If he gets a good matchup, he's yet to have one. And I don't think he has one this week. Tampa Bay, is that who they're playing? I think. So, yeah. He's still... It's still going to be a tough go for Pickett. And you're going to have some bumps in the road. He was okay last week. I mean, he's got great wide receivers. You know when he'll be worth a start? When they have a relatively mediocre matchup. And my boy, Calvin Austin. comes to play. They take him off IR, that's when you start him. Telling you right now, Calvin Austin, you don't put in a waiver for him. No one even knows about him. But once he gets elevated and activated, he's going to be someone that you're going to want at least deep on the bench for a bye week or an injury. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been 1 hour. I said I had about 30 minutes, but I love chit-chatting. I'm glad you all joined me. I'm going to go back to this. Think hard about that, Leon. I mean, I would probably drop Wilson or B-Rob. Flip a coin. Keep the one you like more. I think B-Rob has the longer season potential. So if it were me, I would drop Jeff Wilson and I would pick up Kenneth Walker. One final question, and then I got to go before I get yelled at. Was just offered McCaffrey and Juju for Barkley and Everett. No. Keep your boy Barkley. I mean, McCaffrey's just, I get both of them, been hurt and whatnot, but Everett's doing too good. Juju's on a carousel. I don't want any part of the KC carousel. No, thank you. You don't need that. McCaffrey could wind up on Buffalo. So what? I mean, that actually makes him less valuable as far as I'm concerned. It makes the Bills better, but it makes McCaffrey less valuable if that happens, because they have too many playmakers to steal from him. McCaffrey's value is because he's on a team of scrubs. So if he gets traded, which they said that Barkley might go to the Bills, so then that maybe takes away Barkley, but I don't think the Giants are going to get rid of him ever. Bills are out there searching desperately, but I think McCaffrey is a better shot. But I'd rather have Barkley than Everett. Everett's doing just fine. Barkley's doing great. McCaffrey is right there. Scares me every time he touches the ball, and I want nothing to do with Juju. All right, so thank you all for joining. I think I said 24-19. The Bears are going to win. Pierce and Everett for McCaffrey counter. I'd rather do. You really want McCaffrey, huh? I don't hate that. I don't hate it. I'd rather have Pierce, but I don't hate it. I mean, you would have like the top 4 running backs, at least like name brand first rounders. So, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. Opens up a roster spot, which I'm always okay with. Tanyan is your tight end too. I absolutely hate that. I don't like Tanyan, but that's old news. New news, 24-19. Bears beat the Commanders. Bears continue to throw more. If you have to use some players, you know the ones to use. Recorded shows will be posted to the group on Saturday, and we will be live Sunday morning, probably around 11 Eastern. I have to talk with Rob, probably around 11 Eastern, and we will have an hour or so just for your questions. So thank you, those of you that joined tonight. I did what I had to do earlier so that I could come on and talk for a little longer than I thought. Enjoyed every second. I hope you did as well. Until next time, everybody, stick with us. We're the Inside Scoop from outside the box, and you're here to always be a step ahead. See you this weekend. Good luck.